Southwest Key was created to keep kids out of prison and detention facilities. When we began in 1987, there was a dire need to develop alternatives to juvenile incarceration. There are a disproportionate number of kids of color going into the system, mostly for nonviolent offenses. We pioneered innovative programs that support youth in their own community, involve their families in the rehabilitation process, and use a culturally competent approach. This has proven successful at keeping youth from reoffending. The scope of our work has evolved over time, from operating programs for kids who are already involved in the system to addressing the root causes of delinquency. We found the majority of kids who wind up in the juvenile justice system come from poor, vulnerable communities, so we've moved our national headquarters to a high-crime neighborhood and invested significant resources with a focus on helping young people stay out of the juvenile justice system and achieve their dreams. Our objective continues to be keeping kids out of jails and detention facilities by creating alternatives to incarceration. While our intervention programs have made a world of difference in the lives of those served, we know the only way to truly prevent juvenile crime is by getting to the root causes of the problem. In the communities we serve, youth don't have real opportunities for gainful employment, mental health services, a quality education, or an escape from poverty. We're trying to demonstrate that by investing in communities where these kids come from, we can substantially decrease delinquency. To have a greater impact, we need resources to open more full-service college prep schools and employment programs in struggling communities of color. Additional funds to initiate a longitudinal study of this pilot would enable us to replicate it nationally and take it to scale. Southwest Key's approach to reform has been successful because we've made cultural competency, parental involvement, youth accountability, and community-based programming central to our work. Key to our success is our commitment to diversity and cultural competency. We ensure that our staff at all levels are a reflection of the kids we serve and are able to understand their community, their language, and the nuances of their culture. We involve parents in everything we do for their children because we realize that in order for kids to be successful, they have to have a strong family support system. We also open up our programs in the heart of the highest crime communities where our clients live, so we're able to respond immediately to their needs and are able to understand the neighborhood dynamics. Finally, our programs are specifically designed to address the community's need for safety and to hold a young person accountable for his or her actions. Southwest Key has been effective because of our commitment to quality assurance, fiscal accountability, and utilization of best practices. For over 10 years, Southwest Key has received a completely unqualified opinion from its auditors, with no questions, significant deficiencies, or material weaknesses. We utilize a sophisticated quality assurance monitoring process, and through our data collection efforts and our work with outside evaluators, we have evidence to demonstrate the effectiveness of our programs. As a testament to our commitment to excellence, Southwest Key is nationally accredited with the Council on Accreditation, or COA, which means our operations, governance, and programs are rigorously vetted through an ongoing monitoring process. COA evaluates the entire organization from management and internal systems to all the programs we operate for which there are standards. The accreditation process has empowered staff at all levels, improved accountability, streamlined operations, reduced turnover, and ensured the highest quality service to clients. Southwest Key collects, evaluates, and uses data to guide decision-making and identify our areas for improvement. We utilize Efforts to Outcome, which we call ETO software, as our tool for client data collection for our programs. This allows us to continuously evaluate the effectiveness of our services with real-time data that in turn informs our planning and continuously improves service delivery. Our research-based approach is seen as a model nationally and was featured in a PBS documentary about philanthropy in 2011. We've won many national awards, and our juvenile diversion program has been accepted as an Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention best practice model. Throughout our programs, we maintain a 90% success rate or higher. This means that over 90% of our program participants did not reoffend while on the program, were in attendance at all scheduled court hearings, and remained in the community at discharge. Because Southwest Key is a large organization with many programs and a large budget, some may assume we don't need support from foundations and individual donors. But our funding is contract-based and non-discretionary, so the money is highly directed to provide specific types of services requiring a specific number of employees. The reality is, the need in these poor communities is so great that there never seems to be enough resources to have the impact we're aiming for. This is in part why we have started a handful of social enterprises, small businesses that create jobs in our community and bring in funds for our nonprofit so that we can be less dependent on outside funding sources. We hope to use our social enterprises to model self-sufficiency within our community and to show the youth and adults we serve how they can build their own businesses to support their families and become self-sufficient. We are very proud of all we have accomplished since 1987, growing from a staff of 5 to over 1,000, from serving 21 kids to approximately 6,000 daily. We're also proud to be ranked the 4th largest Hispanic nonprofit in the country, one of the few Latino-led organizations doing this kind of work. But above all, it's so gratifying to see the impact we've had on the lives of children. Because of Southwest Key, thousands of children have been diverted from prisons and institutions, enabling them to flourish at home with their families and stay out of trouble. And we've enabled thousands of students to complete their education through our alternative schools and youth programs. Our workforce programs have provided thousands of people with job training and childcare opportunities, enabling them to become self-sufficient and provide for their children. And we're honored to be the largest provider of shelter and reunification services for unaccompanied immigrant children who come to this country. Southwest Key has reunified thousands of these children with their families. One thing we've realized in our work is that when you come to communities that are poor and that have been ignored for a long time, there's a desperate need for advocacy to push for social justice in an effort to improve the quality of life for children in these neighborhoods. Part of what we do at Southwest Key is to challenge the status quo, particularly if it has perpetuated poor and unfair conditions for children. We've attempted to be courageous enough to shed light on the disparities that exist in employment, education, public safety, and housing. We take our efforts to policymakers and request that they do something to improve conditions in these communities, because ultimately this will affect the lives of generations of children. Unfortunately, pointing out these disparities often creates tension between policymakers and organizations like Southwest Key. With additional resources, we would enhance 3 crucial components of our work at Southwest Key. First, we'd expand our Children's Promise model, making an even greater investment in the communities where system-involved children come from. We hope to expand our college prep schools and increase our wraparound educational programs. We want to offer job training opportunities for kids, both in and out of the juvenile justice system, and provide more employment opportunities for parents so both are able to become self-sufficient. In our youth justice programs, we'd add more evidence-based mental health services. This is an area of very high need that very few providers have the capacity to address. And those programs where we have been able to offer mental health services have shown remarkable success with children. And finally, we take on more advocacy work in the communities that have been forgotten, the communities where the dynamics that lead to delinquency are most prevalent. In order to be of maximum value to young people, we'd like to expand our performance management system. We've been successful in setting clearly defined goals, collecting data, and making adjustments to our services based on that information. With additional technical assistance, we can take the next step and communicate our progress and findings with decision makers. One of our goals is to conduct a longitudinal study of our Children's Promise model, of investing in communities where kids who are in the juvenile justice system come from. We hope to publish the findings of that study into a Kids Count document, demonstrating the state of affairs of children in our communities for policymakers. We'll use that data to rally other community-based organizations around advocacy and better service to these kids. Armed with the data to show how to improve our service to children, and with additional funding, we'd recruit more qualified staff, enhance our training around accountability to ensure that we have even greater success in our programs, and invest in mentoring and leadership development for our staff and managers.